Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another weather forecast here by Agent Weather Forecast. And this is going to be a video on an upcoming and potential another severe weather outbreak later into next week here, possibly an outbreak throughout May 4th up to May 6th. This has been something that we've been looking at. Since the past week, and it's looking like we have a better probability of actually seeing this actually happen. And it's going to be potentially a very widespread threat throughout the south central parts of the plains, all the way up to the southeast, because it will be a multi-day threat if it does follow through what we're expecting. We already have our day 3 outlook here for the severe weather outbreak. Looks like we'll be seeing a decent amount of Cape values. Looks like we'll be seeing also a decent amount of wind shear, and looks like we'll definitely have a lot of Gulf moisture coming in, and we even have that incoming cold front coming in, so that's possibly going to strengthen that potential for very strong squall lines to develop on that cold front. But if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Again, this is not 100% accurate because it's still 3 days out, which isn't 100% accurate. And I'm going to have multiple more maps before this actually happens, because it's obviously data is going to change with the new updates. So this is 100% accurate right now, but this is our best kind of knowledge that we have right now. We're going to be looking at all the models later in the video. Also, be sure to subscribe and share the channel to any friends or family. But without further ado, let's get in this video. So this is my map for the severe weather. This is not one day. This is actually going to be throughout May 4th to May 6th, because by these days, between May 4th and May 6th, it will be heading throughout many areas into the southern United States, including southeast, south central, and even parts of the Midwest, if you count, of course, the Nebraska area and Iowa. But this is what we're looking at right now. So it looks like we have a scattered risk throughout many areas, all the way, of course, into the areas into Illinois, all the way up to southern Iowa, down to the southeast here, because this is a multi-day threat. So obviously it's going to be moving eastward, and that'll be causing a very widespread threat here. So next time I'll actually try to make a map. I don't want to make a whole U.S. so you guys can see it all, because I feel like that would be too small. But really we'll be seeing the scattered risk in this light red colors. We'll be seeing potential maybe for marginals, if not a slight risk in some of these areas here. Because we're seeing some really strong severe weather bands and a potential for some really strong squall lines are likely in these areas. That's going to include a lot of big cities like Atlanta, including Columbia, including St. Louis, including Wichita, Shreveport, Texarkana, and many of these areas, except areas like Tennessee, really, and Kentucky, have been getting really strong severe weather in the past week or the past 2 weeks. So definitely not good whatsoever, and it looks like the area with our best chance for really strong severe weather, this is likely where we can possibly have an enhanced risk be issued maybe by day 2. It's very likely, but this is where we have our best chance probability for seeing some very, very strong bands right now. This looks like we'll possibly, again, this is not 100% accurate, possibly have maybe the worst of severe weather, including parts of Tulsa, Kansas City, Springfield, Fort Smith, areas into just the general areas where we saw severe weather risk last week or last time for southern Kansas, southwestern Missouri, northeastern Oklahoma, and northwestern Arkansas. The exact same areas. Looks like they'll get hit really hard. Looks like Kansas, on the other hand, might get hit harder this time than in the other outbreak that we saw, the other severe weather that we saw. And it's very likely we can possibly see these scattered this areas in the scattered thunderstorms with that light red becoming maybe a bit more widespread to Kansas and Oklahoma, but it looks like we're really going to get hit really hard in those areas. But of course it's looking like a very widespread threat, but I can't guarantee, of course, exact location as of right now. This is what we'll have the best, and we'll possibly have scattered light red areas go up into maybe southern Iowa and parts of eastern Nebraska, but of course you can't really see that because of the region. I'll try to find a better region here later on, so because I just wanted to get a close up so you guys can see it, not the whole U.S. map, so it's really far away. But this is what we're looking at. My map's looking like. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the models. So on day 2, we're going to be seeing the severe weather starting to ramp up more into areas in the north central plains and parts of the western United States. So looks like we'll have the severe weather developing here on, this is I believe May 3rd. It'll be developing here basically on May 3rd. So that's going to be right here through areas like Colorado, Wyoming, the Dakotas, even Montana, in parts of Kansas as well. So this is where we'll possibly see the severe weather outbreak beginning. It's going to be like maybe more of a late May 3rd, not like general all day, but this is what we're looking at. I believe this is actually Monday, if I'm not wrong. This is Monday, May 4th, I believe. So yeah, we'll be seeing this kind of developing here on May 4th right here. So we're seeing the severe weather possibly kind of ramping up as of right here. We'll possibly have this wind shear strengthening a bit more, have defined low pressure system. So Colorado, you guys are finally seeing your severe weather, the first severe weather of the year. Wyoming as well, and starting to see the Dakota starting to get a bit more active. So go ahead and check out the tornado risk. It's very small of a tornado risk. Hail threats a 2% chance, and wind is actually, let's actually check out the wind threat. Wind threat's also a 5% chance. So this is basically very small risk, really. So it's not going to be too major, but I'm just showing you guys when it will start the severe weather start to kind of begin this outbreak starting on May 4th. Then we're going to be looking at the Tuesday, May 5th. This is where we possibly have our biggest day of severe weather here. I know it's only a slight risk, but of course, for the day 3, we have multiple updates left to get an enhanced risk. As we saw last, where we saw that moderate come out last minute. So as of right now, we have a slight risk. That's going to be areas kind of similar to my map. I think obviously this risk could be a lot more widespread to Oklahoma and a bit more widespread in Arkansas, but we have a slight risk. This is our highest risk as of right now for Tuesday, May 5th. This will possibly be maybe the worst day so far, and it will carry on by May 6th into the southeast. That'll be on day 4. But we had the slight for parts of northwestern and north central Arkansas, much of southwestern Missouri, and also including southeastern Kansas and northeastern Texas. So kind of including the exact same areas as last week, except the slight risk or this general risk for the highest risk is a bit more like Kansas and Missouri. But very likely we can possibly have an enhanced risk maybe added on by maybe later on in the evening tomorrow. Don't think it's going to be added to an enhanced risk at all today or early tomorrow. But we have our risk. As you can tell, it's going to be more of like a scat. It's not going to be like super duper wide for this highest risk as of right now. We do have a general risk that's very widespread. That's going to be from the Dakotas to the East Coast. But really, this severe weather is going to be staying at really one spot each day, really. So it's going to be maybe one day on day 2 on the general western United States and parts of the north central plains. And then the next day, it's kind of maintaining in the kind of southern plains and Ozarks. And then by the next day, it'll be just in general the southeast. So kind of showing you it's not as fast of a moving system, so it's not going to be affecting like 3 regions in one day. But that's where we have our risk for May 5th. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the radar. So radars aren't really agreeing necessarily, and it's not looking super big of a severe weather outbreak on the radar. But a couple models are showing this potentially happening really bad. But GFS really on the GFS on tropical tidbits isn't really showing this much. So here we have on May 4th here, Monday, we had a severe weather it's going to be starting out here into Wyoming and the north central plains and central plains. That's what we saw on the day 2. Here we have the defined low pressure system. You're going to be seeing this Gulf moisture now going out in Texas and going out to the Oklahoma area. So we're going to be seeing a lot of moisture here. And we're even going to be seeing some very strong winds with these isobars. You can see they're very close. So likely we'll be seeing non-thunderstorm winds already. As we now get later into May 4th, we have our first wave of severe weather now into northwestern Arkansas, southwestern Missouri, and parts of the eastern Oklahoma and Kansas. And then we see that more severe weather likely, mostly going to be more of a heavy rain threat here for maybe some flash flooding in the Dakotas, parts of Nebraska. So that's going to be the first wave there. And then by later on May 5th, we have a second wave. It's going to be now for areas into northeastern Oklahoma, areas into northwestern Arkansas, and southwestern Missouri. We'll possibly see more and more severe weather there. And then we have a general areas of really maybe scattered thunderstorms and maybe mostly heavy rain throughout areas into the Midwest and into the Ohio Valley. And then by May 6th, this severe weather now moves for the southeast into the south central. This is exactly why I had this red moving all the way up to these areas. So you can be seeing this low pressure system now over the Appalachians. It's going to possibly bring some scattered thunderstorms. Not going to be a huge tornado outbreak or severe weather threat as of right now. For these areas, it's going to be scattered thunderstorms that could be slightly severe. And then we have another band out here into the south central once again on May 6th. And then by later into May 6th to Wednesday, it's going to continue to bring that severe weather and scattered thunderstorms throughout the south central. And this should be clear by May 7th, but maybe we have another severe weather outbreak on our hands by May 8th. But here I think the Europeans showing this being the worst as compared to all the models. Europeans showing it really the worst of it, or showing this system being a lot worse than GFS models. But here we look at the European on May 4th. Right here we have the severe weather developing here into the western United States and parts of the north central plains. So we're going to see that severe weather maybe throughout northwestern Colorado, areas into Nebraska, and parts of western Kansas. As we now move later into May 4th, over the overnight hours, we're going to be seeing the severe weather really starting to ramp up a lot more, especially for Kansas, including even the northwestern part. So that's why I said we can possibly, in my next map, maybe extend this risk a bit more into Kansas. But only one model is really showing it as of right now, so I'm not going to really add it right now. But looks like we'll be seeing a lot of severe weather throughout these north central plains developing throughout much of Monday. And then by Tuesday, we have the severe weather, that first wave out here, moving to the Ozarks and the Midwest, including areas to Missouri, bring that severe weather risk for Arkansas, and scattered thunderstorms throughout the southeast. And here we have that main area of really just general heavy rain throughout the Midwest. Then we have that second wave by later May 5th. That's going to be including areas, of course, eastern Oklahoma, areas into northwestern Arkansas, and maybe even seeing the severe weather risk now a bit more throughout the lower Mississippi Valley Basin there, near the areas connecting to the Ohio Valley. And then that's possibly have that severe weather risk later by May 5th in the overnight hours and early May 6th throughout the southeast in mid-Atlantic. But as of right now, looks like the Europeans really showing it, really bringing it really big, a lot of severe weather throughout that area into the southern plains compared to other models. Now let's go ahead and check out the pivotal weather models as well. So here we have by May 4th, of course, the severe weather ramping up out here into the northern plains. Maybe seeing scattered thunderstorms. Not going to be anything major as of right now here. As you see, we are going to be seeing a lot of wind or a lot of kind of strong winds and potential wind shear. Here we have a defined low pressure system right there, sitting off of Texas. That's going to create a lot of Cape Valleys there, and that's going to possibly create a lot of pop-up thunderstorms throughout northwestern Arkansas, southern Kansas, and seeing that mainly possibly severe weather out there into South Dakota, Nebraska, and possibly just going to be mostly just heavy rain. As we get later into May 4th, we're going to continue to see severe weather moving towards the Midwest, and also seeing these scattered thunderstorms throughout Missouri there. As we now get later into May 5th, we start to see a little bit more severe weather, of course, now popping up into Missouri, Oklahoma, and possibly throughout areas to Arkansas, which is where we have that area of focus there, to bring in some possibly severe weather out there into those exact same areas. And then by later May 6th, we of course have that severe weather now moving towards the east, so that's going to be hitting the southeast, and hitting the south central. So really the pivotal weather model showing it the least really severe weather, or the least kind of severe, but it looks like the European showing the most severe. So now let's go ahead and check out the Cape Valleys and check out the wind shear. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the Cape Values here. So Cape Values, let's just say they aren't exactly impressive at the time of the severe weather, but they are going to be quite high. Let's just put it that way. They will be quite high at some point. So by May 3rd, this is Sunday, when we don't really have any severe weather throughout the really beginning, but we'll be seeing some higher Cape Values out here, and could be mostly just overday heating, seeing of course maybe a lot of moisture. This could pop up thunderstorms, so we're going to be seeing mainly some 3,000 joules per kilogram, maybe high 2,000s. But as we now get into May 4th, which is when we start to see that severe weather ramping up a little bit more into the western United States and south into the northern plains, we're going to be seeing these numbers going to be a bit higher throughout these areas, only around those lower 1,000s, but that won't be impressive. But the only impressive numbers will actually be in the south central. So as you see, we're going to be seeing a lot of energy before the severe weather even starts in these exact areas. Look at the southeastern Oklahoma, 4,300 joules per kilogram, closer to 4,500 joules per kilogram, and we're going to be seeing some really high 3,000s and lower 4,000s throughout those areas into the south central. As we now get later into May 4th, this kind of energy does die down, but it does move now. This energy does move more into the areas where we have the severe weather potential, which is Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas. This is where we possibly have our area of focus. And look, oh my gosh, I cannot stop moving this. So as we now move into the area of focus, now into May 5th, this is later May 4th, look at these higher numbers and moving the exact same areas of severe weather. So we'll possibly see these bands moving by late May 4th and May 5th in these areas, and here you see the energies already here set in place. We're going to be seeing 4,800 joules per kilogram, 4,900 joules per kilogram. We can possibly see a lot of energy in these areas. Going to be seeing some higher 4,000 joules per kilogram, scattered mid to lower 3,000 joules per kilogram by May 5th. These numbers do die down, but the Cape values do ramp up a little bit more to the south central and southeast as this band does move eastward into those areas by May 6th. So kind of Cape values are kind of starting to add up a little bit in these exact same areas. But really Cape values were a lot higher last time throughout northwestern Oklahoma and these areas. So now it's a bit more to the south. So not really adding up exactly where we have our main area of focus, but it is adding up with the general location. And last thing we're going to be looking at is the Cape Valley, or not the Cape Valley, the wind shear. We're not going to be seeing an impressive low-level jet here that's going to bring an impressive amount of powerful winds, 50 knots, all of that. It's not going to be an impressive low-level jet. Actually, going to be seeing more of a kind of like a kind of seeing like more like straight line winds here in these areas. We're not going to be seeing like a little dip right here in the south central. We're going to be seeing those strong northeasterly winds or anything like that. It's going to be more of a east. There's going to be more of a straight line wind threat. So by May 4th, we have the severe weather ramping up in the south central and the north central plains and the general western United States, like Colorado, Wyoming. Look where we have that wind shear. It's going to be right over those areas, and it's going to be all coming from the Pacific. Going to bring in a lot of energy throughout the western United States. So we're going to be seeing possibly around 100 knots or around 90 knots in these areas higher in the atmosphere. Here we have a defined low pressure system right here off in Colorado, which would possibly, of course, develop those severe weather. And then wind shear does, by later to May 4th, does bring in a bit more of severe weather now for Illinois, Iowa. And then by later into May 5th, that is why we have this spawn up of storms out here into the central plains because of this wind shear strengthening. Now we'll start to see a little bit more of a low jet. You're going to kind of see it dip a little bit like this. So it's not an impressive low jet right here. We're not going to be an impressive amount, but we are going to be seeing an open window of severe weather potential out here in these areas because of this wind shear. It's not impressive. It's not major, but we are going to be seeing a little bit more than expected. For 2 days ago, we didn't really see any wind shear throughout these areas, but now we're seeing a little bit more. This would possibly bring around 900 to 100 knots. And then by later into May 6th, when the severe weather now starts to move to the south central and southeast, look where that wind shear is, right here into the southeast, including most of the Carolinas. You start to see a little bit more of a low-level jet here. Now see it dip down a little bit more, so we'll be seeing a bit more of an impressive low-level jet by the time the severe weather is mostly over with the worst of it. But this possibly could maybe make this risk for the south central and the south, or sorry, for the southern plain or south central, including Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and even the southeast, and possibly parts of the mid-Atlantic. That could possibly increase that severe weather risk, and then wind shear does die down a lot more by May 8th. But then we had the potential now for a lot more wind shear by May 9th, and this can possibly bring in another outbreak throughout these areas across the eastern United States, like we even saw on the radar. May 8th possibly has another potential. And we will possibly see 120 knots in the higher atmosphere here. So this is a lot more wind shear and more like straight line of winds on May 9th. So we can possibly have multiple, or maybe 2 outbreaks likely next week. But the main focus is May 4th and May 6th. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And bye, guys.